What is up, guys? Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. In this video, we're gonna download Unity and take a look at its interface. But first things first, for those of you who are new to Unity, what is Unity? Unity is a game engine which is cross-platform, which means we can create a game in Unity once and deploy it on mobile, desktop, consoles, web, so on and so forth. We use C# as a scripting language to code those games, and we put them all together in Unity Game Engine. So this is Unity. Now, in order to download Unity, we need to go on unity3d.com, and depending on their website, because they changed their appearance, this is the current appearance of their website, you will see something like this, and you will see something like Get Unity. You're gonna click on that, which will take you to the download page for Unity. Now, as you can see, we have a couple of editions or versions of Unity. So we have the Personal, Plus, and Pro. You see, Plus and Pro are paid. One of the conditions from Unity Technologies is that if you're making over 100K per year, so over $100,000, you need to use a paid version. But we are students, we are learning, we want to use the free personal version. Simply click here, try personal. It will take you to the download page. You're gonna accept the terms by clicking here, as we all do, and we are probably gonna read terms of services as we all do anyways. Then you're gonna download Unity for your OS operator system or operating system. So Mac OS or Windows, depending on which one you're using, you will see the download button for that. Now, another way to download Unity is to simply go on Mr. Google and type here download Unity. I didn't even type that out. I typed download. Anyways, it's not important. You get the point. When you type that out, you will see here the first part or the first link, Unity/download. You're gonna click on that. It is gonna take you right here to download Unity page. Click here, choose Unity plus download. And again, we are on the same page as we were before. Try personal, bam, we are here on the personal page. Accept the terms, read it, as again, we all do, and download Unity. Install it like any other program on Windows, next, on Mac, next, and the program is installed. Now, before you actually click on all those next buttons to install the program, if I open the download assistant and click here continue and continue, which is next on Mac OS, you will see here the components that you want to download. So the first one, Unity, is the Unity engine itself. Documentation is the code documentation. Standard assets are like standard pre-coded assets that come with Unity download. Now, these build supports is what I want to talk about. So Android build support, iOS build support, tvOS, Linux, Mac, Windows, these are build supports so that later on, if you create a game and if you have Android and iOS build support, you can export your game to the Android platform and iOS platform. If you don't have these, then you will not be able to export your game to these platforms. So you can also download Unity without these and create your games. Later on, you can simply reopen the download assistant and just check these checkboxes for the support platforms that you want, and then you will be able to export your games on those platforms. So this is really important. Please note this in your notepad so that you can know for later on. Now, in the next part of this video, I'm going to talk about Unity's interface. I'm going to show you how we can create a project and talk about the tabs that we have in Unity and which ones we are going to use. So you can download the latest version of Unity right now, but my plan is, before we create every game, I'm going to create a short video and tell you which Unity version to download, which was the version that I have used to create that game. This is for the best experience for this course so that you can learn more. Now, don't worry, as new versions of Unity come out, I will create new games in those new versions, displaying or showing you all the new features we have in Unity. So don't worry, the course will not be outdated by any means. I will update the content regularly with new games, and if I see the need to recreate a game, I will do that as well. So, as I said, this was my plan. I will tell you before every game which version to download, and I will show you how you can download previous versions. This is just so you know, but you can download the latest version right now so that in the next part of this video, I will show you the features of Unity and its interface. Now that we have downloaded Unity, when you click on the Unity icon, this is the window that will appear. Now, all of these projects that you see here are the projects that I have already created. So Unity knows the path to those projects and it will display them right here. You will probably not see any project here if this is your first time running Unity. This is just so you don't get confused that you see things on the video, but you don't see them on your own Unity program. Now, in order to create a new project, you're simply going to click here, New, on this window right here, which will bring you here to this new window. Here is the project name. You can give it some like My Awesome Game. And here, the location of your project, that is where you're going to store the project file. You're going to click on three dots, let's say on desktop. I'm going to click here and I'm going to say open and it will be stored on desktop. I'm going to disable Unity Analytics because we don't need that. Template 3D or 2D, that means is this a 3D project or a 2D one? So we are going to say here 2D. We are not going to touch anything here. Just click 2D. If it's a 2D game or 3D if it's a 3D game. Simply click create project, Unity will do its thing and bam, just like that, it will appear right before your eyes like magic. Now we need to wait for Unity to take mercy upon us and do all of these things that you already see it's doing. And then it will have mercy finally and open the project so that we can see the interface that Unity has. Now this is the interface that you see here, and probably with you it's a little bit different because here I'm using my layout that I have arranged. I'm gonna go on default, and this is the default layout that comes with Unity. Now going through these tabs, as you can see here on the left, we have the hierarchy tab. This is where we will put our game objects such as 3D models, our other game objects like grounds, backgrounds that we are going to use inside of our game. We will put them here. We will see a lot of examples for that, so don't worry. Here at the bottom you have the project tab where you put all your files, and here I have this little slider at the top right or bottom right corner actually from the project tab, and you can move it left and right to resize the icons. You have the console tab where you will see errors and you can print to this console from your code for testing purposes. We will see that as well. The scene tab is what you will see inside of your game or the elements that are inside of your game. The game tab is the game preview. This is how your game will look like when it runs on a computer, on mobile device, so on and so forth. Asset store, we don't need it. I'm gonna right click it and close it. This is the asset store where you can buy assets, download free assets, so on and so forth. And here in the inspector tab, which is on the right, we can click, for example, on the hierarchy, and we have the main camera by default in every scene. And don't worry, I will explain what is a scene later on. We will see all of that in high detail. This is just the brief info about Unity's interface. So when you click on a game object in the hierarchy panel, you will see it here in the inspector. You will see its transform, the properties, components attached on it. I will talk all about all of these components and properties in detail. Again, I'm mentioning this, so don't worry. And if you don't see by any chance one of these tabs that I have mentioned that come by default, they're all located under window. So we have under window, we have the services, scene tab, game, hierarchy, project. We have the animation, which is this tab right here. We will use it to animate our characters and our menus and much more. So you can dock a tab by simply clicking on it. You see it's floating by default when you click on it. And then you can simply click here and drag it where you want it to be. Now also you can rearrange these tabs however you want them. You can put the game tab like here, you can put the inspector tab here. This is all your preference. My preference is this. I'm gonna go here at the top right corner where it says default. It's a drop down list. I'm gonna click there and go here and click on my layout. This is how I use it. Now you can rearrange it like this. It's not a requirement. You will not be better in coding or making games if you do it like I'm doing it. This is only my preference. You can have your own preference as well. Now, you see here we have more tabs that I will talk briefly about. We have the animation, as I said, where we can animate. We have the animator, where we will see the animations that we have created so we can make transitions. That means going from one animation to another. We also have here the lightning tab, which we will use to create mood in our games. We have a separate, or we will have that inside of our game. So we'll see these examples. We have the navigation tab right here, which is used for navigation for our enemies. We have all of these tabs in the main course in the Ultimate Game Development Academy. So we cover all of this in high detail, and I will talk about them in this course as well. And again, they're located under window tabs. You have the animation, you have the project, you have the profiler, the game, so on and so forth. But this is just a brief introduction about Unity and its interface so that when you open it, you know at least what is every tab used for. And then when we start making our games, we will see in detail how to use it, what we can do with it, so on and so forth. Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. I will see you guys in the next video. What is up, guys? Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. Before we proceed with the course and create all of the cool games that are ahead of us, we're gonna create this small game just so that we get a taste how game development works, and you will see how easy it is to create a playable game in like 20 or 30 minutes with no prior knowledge of game development before, well, you got in this course. So this is the game that we're gonna create. I'm in my Unity editor and I'm gonna quickly preview the game. So when I hit the play button, we see this little, well, ball-shaped dude that is here, and the bombs start falling from the sky, and we need to avoid them, as you can see here. Every time we avoid a bomb, we gain score. Take a look at the top left corner. We have, well, 23 for now, and bam, we got hit by a bomb and the game stops. When we get hit by a bomb, you see everything stops, the score count stops, the bomb don't start falling, and yeah, this is our short game. Nothing fancy, but yet it's a nice and addictive game to play, and we can create it in like 30 minutes or so. So let's get into it and see how easy it is to create this cool game. I am in my Unity editor right here. When you click on Unity and then click on New at the top right corner, you will open this window right here. Give a name to your project. I'm gonna name mine Awesome Bomberman, and save it wherever you want to save it. Click on this location and, well, select where you want to save it. I'm gonna save mine right here, and I'm gonna disable Unity Analytics because I don't need it. This is a 2D game, as you saw from the preview of the, well, game a moment ago. So I'm gonna check this 2D radio button or click on this 2D button right here. And I'm gonna hit create project, and bam, we are good to go. Let us just wait for Unity to, well, do its thing and open our empty project. As you see here, I'm gonna clear this, well, info in the console that we had. As you can see, my resolution here in the game tab is 480 by 800. I talked about this in the video where we downloaded Unity and talked about Unity's interface. So simply click on the plus button here, create 480 by 800 resolution, name it however you want to name it, and select that resolution because we are going to work, well, with that resolution. Now for the assets, here they are. You will be able to download them, well, under this video, and you will only have these sprites, BG Bomb and the player, because we don't need anything else. They are located right here in the sprites folder. You will download this as a zip folder. You will also be able to download this complete project as well. Anyways, you can download this, and when you open it, you will see this sprites folder. Simply drag and drop it like this right here. So drag and drop it and simply put it or leave it here, and bam, here, well, here is our folder. Before I start to drag and drop these assets in the scene view right here, I'm gonna right click and create a new folder. So right click, go under create a new folder, and I'm gonna name this one scenes. And I'm gonna hold command and press S, or you can go under file and click save scenes. On Windows, I'm assuming that's control plus S. So hold control and press S and bam, here you are. And I'm gonna save this one in the scenes folder and I'm gonna name it gameplay. The scene is this right here that you see. This is the scene, and we would talk about scenes later on when we start our first game and any other game, so don't worry about that. Essentially, a scene is where our game objects are, and that will form our gameplay or what we will see in our game. The first thing that I'm gonna put in this scene is the background. Now, simply, you can drag and drop it here in the scene like this, or you can put it here in the hierarchy, wherever you wanna put it. That's fine by me. But you will see it right here. If you put it, well, if you go like this, so if you simply drag and drop it here, like this, then it will not be positioned correctly in the center, probably. I'm assuming that. What you can do is select the BG right here in the hierarchy, and for the position X and Y, set it at 0, 0, and bam, you're finished. By the way, this is my layout set up. I also talked about that in the video where we downloaded Unity. So you can, well, set it up as I did, but you don't have to. You can create your own setup, but this is my default setup and I like to work like this. So when I say in the hierarchy and I go here in the middle of my Unity editor, maybe your hierarchy is on the left side, but just know that you will go in the hierarchy tab. For the background, it is a little bit small, as you can see, and we see these blue lines or blue gaps on the side and on the top with our background. So I'm gonna simply rescale it. You can select the background in the hierarchy, and in the inspector, for the transform, you will see a scale property where I'm pointing with my mouse currently. I'm gonna say 1.5 for the X, and 1.5 for the Y, and bam, this is our background. So I like it like this. So this is our background, and I'm gonna use it like this. So now that we have our background, let us import our player. I'm gonna drag and drop him right here in the scene. Now our player is not visible. The reason for this is because we have something called sorting layers and order in layer. We will talk about that later on in more detail, but just know that when you select the BG, for example, pay attention to here inside of the renderer, so sprite renderer component. You see here we have this sorting layer and we have order in layer. Now this order in layer will determine the rendering order of game objects in this layer. The layer is currently set to default, and if I select the player, he's also on the default layer. Now the one or the game object that is on the 0 sorting or order in layer, it will be rendered first. But we don't want our player to be rendered first because he's not visible because of the background. And they are both set to 0, so it can happen that sometimes the player will be rendered first, sometimes the background will be rendered first. To fix that, simply select the player and set the order in layer to 1. And pay attention to the game scene. Bam, we have our player right here. So select the order in layer and set it to 1, which means that the player will be rendered second after the background, and he will be rendered on top of the background. I'm also going to position our player at negative 3.66 on the y-axis, so negative 3.66. And I'm going to go under Add Component, and I'm going to attach a Circle Collider. So here I'm going to say, or actually first I'm going to attach the Rigid Body 2D. So Filter, click on this Add Component and filter in the search bar for Rigid Body 2D. What is a Rigid Body 2D? Well, let me demonstrate that. I'm simply going to take and copy the Y position again, and I'm gonna put it at 0 now because I want to demonstrate what is this rigid body. Rigid body will apply gravity and physics to our game object. If I hit the play button now, notice our player is gonna fall down. This is because the gravity is acting on our player. Now, we added the rigid body, but we don't want the gravity to act on the player, and because of that, pay attention to the Rigid Body 2D component. You have a drop-down list which currently says Dynamic. I'm gonna select it and I'm gonna select Kinematic. So click on it and then select Kinematic. What will happen when I run the game now? bam, our player is standing in the same spot. And I'm gonna put his Y position back to 3.66. Kinematic means that the rigid body is there, but gravity will not affect our player. Other physics or the physics, forces, so on and so forth can affect this game object, but gravity will not affect it. We need it like this because we want to move our player in the code, which we will see in a second. Now, don't worry if you don't understand everything that I'm currently talking about. Just follow along so that you can see how easy it is to create this game. But later on in the course, I will explain everything step by step. What is kinematic? What is a rigid body? We will use it numerous of times, so don't worry about that at all. I'm also going to click on add component and I'm going to filter here for the Circle Collider 2D and well, click OK or hit enter to apply it. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm simply going to turn off the background and select the player. You see this green circle around our character? That is his Circle Collider. Now I can resize the radius just a little bit more, something like this. My radius is 0.41 and this is an option in the Circle Collider. And I'm also going to check this is trigger checkbox. So make sure that you check it because now in our code, we are gonna, well, detect collision between the bomb and the player. And because of that, I check this is trigger checkbox. More about is trigger checkboxes in detail later on in the course when we start creating our games from scratch. So don't worry about that. Going back in assets, right click and create a new folder, which I'm going to call scripts. Inside of this folder, right click and create a new C# script, which I'm going to call player script like this. And I'm gonna simply attach it on the player by dragging and dropping it. So you will drag and drop it like this, bam, on the player, and now you will see the script is attached. You see the script is now in the inspector panel when you select the player. I'm gonna double click it and open it in MonoDevelop. Let us just wait for MonoDevelop to open it, and bam, this is our script. I'm simply gonna tag the class. Don't worry, I'm saying tagging. I'm adding a comment. What is a comment? Comment is this right here. It will not be executed by the compiler. So this is a line of code in quotes that will not be executed. More about that in our section about C#. So don't worry about that at all for the moment. Just follow along with the class or with this lecture. Now, what do we need for our player? Well, first we need a public float that I'm gonna call speed, which is gonna be by default equal to 10 because we want to move our game object. Now, in the update is where the magic is gonna happen. I'm gonna delete or remove the start function because we don't need it. In the update, which is called every frame in a second, we are gonna move our player. And I'll also talk about update and fixed update and late update. We are not gonna touch them now. I'm just telling this that you don't need to worry at all. We will cover all of this in detail. So we need here void move player function, which we're gonna call here in the update function like this. So simply call it like this, and we will talk about functions in the C# section. In the move player function, we are going to do the following. We are going to say float h is equal to input, get axis, and in quotes type so horizontal. This is the axis that we want to get input. What does this mean? This will get us a value when we press the A or the D key or the left or the right arrow key. When we press the A key, we will have a negative value. And when we press the left arrow key, we will also have the negative value. When we press the D and right key, we will have the positive value, which means we can test if h is greater than 0. That means we are going to the right side. Else, if h is less than 0, we are going to the left side. So we're going to the left side. And we are going to move our game object. For that, we're going to get his vector3 position. So we're going to say here vector3 temp is equal to transform position. What is this temporary variable? This vector3 represents x, y, and z axes because we need to know where we are moving. And we can use vector2 because we only have x and y in a 2D game. We're not going to touch the z axis. We will touch z axis in a 3D game. So we're going to get that from our transform position property. If we go in Unity, if I select the player, pay attention, in the inspector panel, you have transform. Right below it, you have the position property. So we need the x-axis. You see, when I move it to the right side, you see, bam, he's moving, bam, he's moving to the left, bam, he's moving to the, well, right side, as you see. So negative side is the left side, right side is the positive side. So going back in MonoDevelop, here, we are simply going to say temp.x. So temp.x is equal to or plus equal to speed multiplied by time.delta time. And here we are simply going to say minus equals to. What does this mean? Well, here this temp x is actually the temporary current position of our game object. We're adding to it the speed multiplying with time.delta time. Time.delta time is time in seconds it took to complete the last frame. So think of this time as time between frames. If we have 60 frames in a second, that's a very small number, and we will use it often like this in the update function to smooth out the movement of our game objects. Now this plus equals means temp x is equal to temp x plus speed multiplied with time.delta time. So this above here is a shortcut for not writing the code like this. And we will talk about this again and again, so don't worry. We're doing here the same thing, except that we're subtracting from the temporary x position because we're going to the left side. And at the bottom, we simply need to say transform position is equal to temp. So here we're getting the current position. So this is the current position. I'm going to say it like this. Current position like this so that we avoid confusion. Like this, and like this. So current position is equal to our transform position. Current position x, we're adding to it the speed multiplied with delta time to move it to the right. Subtracting from it the speed multiplied with delta time to move it to the left. And assigning it back to our own position so that we actually move our game object. Let's test it out. So if I go here, hit the play button, notice now when we move left and right, you see our character moves left and right. So when I press the D key, you see he's moving to the right side. When I press the A or left arrow key or A key, he's moving to the left side. And notice we can go outside of the screen, which is not something that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the player and pay attention to his x-axis. I'm going to move him right here to the, well, near the end. So right here. Let's say 2.55. 2.55. Yeah. So our maximum x where we can go is 2.55 and the minimum is negative 2.55. So let's go in our code. Let me just put my MonoDevelop right here. Let's go in our code and we're going to have a private float minimum x, which is equal to negative 2.55, and private float maximum x, which is equal to 2.55f. Just write it like this. We will cover what is a float, so on and so forth, but we need to strict the movement of our player. Now here, we are going to test if our player, so if our current position.x is lower than the minimum x, so we are going out of bounds to the left side, we're going to say current position.x is equal to minimum x. And here we're going to say if the current position.x is greater than the maximum position x, which means we are going out of bounds to the right side, we're going to say current position x is equal to the maximum x position. Essentially, if we try to go outside of the bounds on the left side, we will, well, make the x equal to the last bound where we can go. Same thing for the right side. Let's try it out. So if I go back here, hit the play button. If I try to go, notice I cannot go to the right side anymore. I'm holding D, I'm holding the right arrow key, not working. I'm holding A, holding the left arrow key. It's not working because our last point is negative 2.55. You see, if it's gonna go below it, we're gonna set it to be equal to that value. So it will not allow us to go outside of the bounds. Same thing for the right side. So we have our player. We are done with the player. We have our player. What is the next thing that we need to do is that we need to create our bomb. So if we go here in Unity And in our sprites, I'm gonna drag and drop the bomb game object, and it is located here. We don't see it, so I'm gonna say order in layer is equal to 1, and now we see it. This is our bomb. I'm gonna resize it a little bit, so take the bomb and set the scale to 0.8 for the X and 0.8 for the Y. Add a rigid body component, so rigid body 2D because this is a 2D game. Don't touch dynamic or leave it at dynamic because we want gravity to affect it. We want it to fall from the sky. So now you understand how it fell from the sky, simply like this. We have the rigid body, you see, and bam, it just fell on its own. We did not do anything. So that's the cool thing. And you probably thought that I did some magic code to move it. No, I did not. See how easy it is? I'm also going to go under add component and attach a circle collider 2D on it. And we can also make it to be a trigger. Now, before we add the bomb in a folder called prefabs, we're going to select the tag at the top in the inspector panel. Right below the name of the bomb, you will see tag and a drop-down list. It currently says untagged, so I'm going to click on it. Add a tag, and I'm going to name it. So click on the plus button here, and I'm going to name it bomb, and I'm going to hit save. So click on the plus button, name the tag, and click save. Select the bomb here again and select from the drop-down list the bomb tag that we have just created. And bam, here we are. I'm gonna create by right-clicking and go under create a folder that I'm gonna call prefabs. Inside of this prefabs folder, I'm gonna drag and drop the bomb. Why did I do this? A prefab is a reusable game object. We need it because now I can delete the bomb from the hierarchy and I have it here. So here it is. I can drag and drop it again. It has the rigid body. It has the circle collider, which is pretty cool. Because now I need to right click in the hierarchy component or hierarchy tab and create an empty game object. I'm just gonna set his position 0, 0, 0. And I'm gonna call this one spawner, who is gonna spawn our game object, or he is gonna spawn the bomb. Now, how is he going to do that? Well, first of all, we are gonna position him at 5.6 for the y-axis. This is his y-axis, 5.6. Now go into the scripts folder, right click and create a new C# script. I'm gonna call this one spawner script. Select the spawner, and you can either drag and drop the script on the spawner here or drag it here in the inspector panel, or click on add component and filter for spawner script and hit enter, and this is our script. I'm gonna double click it and open it in MonoDevelop. What do we need with our spawner? Well, simply we need to have bounds, same as we did with our player. So here in the player script, we can use these bounds. So we are gonna use these because we're gonna spawn our, if I go here at the top, you see our, well, let me just zoom in a little bit. Our spawner, and I'm gonna tag him here with this orange tag by clicking on this icon here and selecting this. You see where he is, and you see the line where the camera is. I'm gonna turn off the background. You see where this white line where the camera is. I'm gonna take this highlight tool. And this is where our camera is, from here up to here. And we're gonna spawn our obstacles within that range. So within this range, we're not gonna spawn obstacles here or here outside of the camera, but within the bounds of the camera, which are the same bounds we used for the player's movement. So we can use those same values, and I'm gonna go here, and we have those same values. We also need a public game object, which I'm gonna call bomb, which is, well, the bomb prefab, and I can name it bomb prefab, that we have just created a moment ago. Because we set it to be public, it is now visible right here in the inspector panel. Notice when I select the spawner, we have this bomb prefab game object empty field. And what do we need to do? We now need to take this bomb prefab from the prefabs folder and drag and drop it right here in this field. So simply select it and drag and drop it right there. So now we have it, and we can make copies of it, and we can make as many copies as we want. So if I go here, what do we need to do now? I'm gonna remove, or actually we don't need the update function, not the start, we need the start. And I'm gonna create something called IEnumerator. And this is called a coroutine. We will talk about coroutines in the C# section, and we will use them in our course. Essentially, coroutines are functions, and functions are reusable blocks of code. and they can be called in a timely manner. So they can delay its execution. We can wait 2 seconds before we call them, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, so on and so forth. Now we are going to call this one spawn bombs. This is the name of the function or this coroutine. And at the top, I'm going to say yield return new wait for seconds, and this is how many seconds we want to wait. Now this yield return, we need to type it like this, and we will talk about this. Don't worry, we will cover it and explain what it is. Just type it out like this and know that this will wait how many seconds we give it instructions here. And we're going to use a random dot range value from 0.5f to 1f. What is this? Or actually, excuse me, from 0f to 1f. So we are gonna use a random range from 0 seconds to 1 second. Now this right here will return a value either 0 or 1, which means we will wait either 1 second or 0 seconds before we spawn or execute the code that is here. Now what do we want to execute? We want to call this instantiate function, which will make a copy out of this bomb prefab. So simply here we're going to say bomb prefab. Now we need to also give it a position. So where do we want to spawn it? Well, we're going to spawn it at new vector 2 position. And for the x, I'm going to say random range from minimum x to maximum x. And the y position is simply going to be transform.position.y. And we need to say another comma, and we need to say quaternion identity. What is this here? First of all, this instantiate function will create a copy out of a prefab. This is the bomb prefab that we first type out. So it will create a copy out of this bomb prefab at this position right here and using this rotation. Now we also need to pass rotation. We will talk about rotations later on, so don't worry about that. But quaternion identity means 0 for every angle. So X, Y, and Z angle, it will have a 0 value. We will talk more about this. Don't worry, just follow along. New vector 2 is the X and the Y position. The X will be the random between minimum and the maximum. So we will spawn it between these lines here that I talked about a moment ago. So between the, well, minimum and the maximum where we can spawn it. If I remove the BG, minimum will be, well, here on the left side, maximum will be here. I used transform position Y for the Y axis, which means we will use the spawner himself and his position Y, which is 5.6. So right here will be their position Y. Let's test it out. And how are we going to call this coroutine? Well, we need to type here start coroutine and then pass the name of the coroutine like this. So spawn bombs. Now, one thing to note is that I want to make this an infinite coroutine, which means that right here, we also need to call it so that the coroutine calls itself over and over again. So this coroutine will call itself, it will execute this code, wait 0 or 1 second, create a copy out of this bomb prefab, and then call itself again to wait 0 or 1 second and execute the code and over again. We are calling this in the start function, which will be called automatically when we run our game. So we can go now in the scene, and notice now I am gonna turn on the background again. I'm gonna hit the play button, and notice they are gonna start spawning. You see they are spawning, and take a look at or pay attention here. They are spawning with this within the X and the maximum, the minimum X range. This is what I wanted to say. You see, and they're falling down. You see, they're falling down and falling down. We will fix this in a second. But my point is, you see, they're spawning and spawning and spawning. So what do we need to do? We need to turn them off when they fall down and don't touch the player. For that, we're going to go in scripts and right click. And here we are going to have a collector script. And we're gonna right click in the hierarchy and create an empty game object, which I'm gonna call collector, not collector, collector. Set his position 0, 0, 0, and I'm gonna move him down a little bit. So he is right here. We're gonna attach a component. So click on add component at the inspector panel and filter for box collider 2D. So box collider 2D. And you see it, it's this green box collider, and I'm gonna resize it. So in the box collider property, you have the size on the X, simply rescale it like this. And I'm gonna move him just here so that he is right where this grass is. Right below the player where the top of this ground grass is. And I'm gonna select this is trigger checkbox. Now, why do we need to do that? Well, because we are gonna use this in our code. So we're gonna type in the code on trigger enter. So if we touch a game object in the trigger, we are gonna do some things, or we're gonna execute the code. So select the collector and attach this collector script on him and double click it, open it here in Mount and Develop. I'm simply gonna create here void on trigger enter to D, which takes a collider to D, which I'm gonna call target. Now, what is this right here? This is an inherited function from Mono behavior, and we will talk about inheritance. We will talk what this Mono behavior is. Essentially here, we will know when we touch another game object that is a collider. This collector, as you see, he has this box collider attached on him. And we know that we attach a circle collider on the bomb. So when they fall down and they touch this collider, we will know this in this code. So we're gonna ask if the target, which is this game object, this collider 2D, it's a parameter. And we will talk about this as well. But essentially, this is the other game object with which we make contact. In this case, we're gonna say if the target.tag is equal to bomb. Do you understand now why did I went here and I selected in the prefabs, let's go and select the bomb, and why did I tag it with the bomb tag? Because now in the code we can identify this game object by using the bomb tag. So if the game object we collided with has a tag of bomb, we're simply gonna say target game object set active to false. This will deactivate our bomb. What does this mean? It will simply make it not active in our game. Previously, we saw that the bombs were falling down. Notice what's gonna happen now when I hit the play button and go into scene view. Notice when the bombs hit the ground, you see they simply disappear. But they did not disappear, they are here. You see, the bomb is here. Here is one of these bombs. I'm gonna pause it and I'm gonna turn it on. It's here, but it's turned off. How do you turn it off and on? You have this checkbox in the inspector panel at the top. So when you check it, it will be visible and turned on. When you uncheck it, it will not be visible. And you see what we're doing? We're simply now deactivating all of these bombs. And we will talk about this. We will use this technique a lot. And why is this good? It saves memory. So it will save memory instead of calculating where the bombs, and when I say calculating, I mean for your processor, your computer will calculate where the bombs are because they are falling down, they use physics, and we don't want that. We simply want to deactivate them because we don't need them anymore. And we will talk about all of this over and over again in our course, so don't worry at all. Now, before we kill the player when the bomb touches him, we're gonna right click in the hierarchy and go under UI and create a text. And this is called a text component, so UI text component. And what we're gonna do with it is that we are gonna position it. And if I zoom out, here is our text component right here. Simply select it here. And we're gonna click on this little cube or this, well, let's say it's a cube. You're gonna click on it and you're gonna select this top left corner, this right here. This is an anchor, which means it will determine where the center of this text is. I'm gonna make it at the top left corner. Again, I'm repeating over and over in this video. Don't worry, we will talk about UI. We will create beautiful menus, animate those menus, create animations with them, explain what anchors are. Everything will be covered, so don't worry, just follow along. The position X is gonna be 125.5. And the position Y is going to be at negative 42.9. I'm also going to set this text at the center, and I'm simply going to type here score colon 0. I'm also going to resize this text. So let's say the width is 224 and the height of the text is 50. And I'm gonna resize the font to 36. You have all of these options here. See, the width is right here in the rect transform. This is the height. This is the X and the Y position. This is the text that you want to put in or type in. This is the font size right here. And here we have the color. So when you click on this color palette, this pop-up window will appear. And I'm gonna move it to the white. So I'm gonna have this score equal to white, or the color will be white. And now we can go inside of our collector script, and I'm gonna type above using Unity Engine.UI, because UI we need to type for it using Unity Engine UI. This is a framework and we will talk about this as well. Don't worry about it. But in order to use the text component, we need to type this out here. And here I'm going to say public text, score text. And below I'm going to say private int score, like this. This is going to keep track of our score, and this is going to be our score text where we are going to display that. Now we need to drag and drop the score into the collector script, same as we did with our bomb prefab. So simply drag and drop it from the hierarchy here. So drag and drop it from here to this empty field when you select the collector script. So now we can go here inside of our collector script and we can type void increase score. And here we're going to say score plus plus, which means we're going to add 1, increment this score value by 1. By default, the score value is equal to 0 when we start our game, and we're going to increment it by 1. This 1 means, or plus plus means, add 1 to the current value of the score. If the value is 0, this will add 1, which means the next value will be 1. If the value is 1, plus plus will add 1, and the value will be 2, so on and so forth. Just increase it by 1. And then we're going to say score text dot text is equal to, in quotes, score, colon, and the quote, plus score, like this. This will display the score count to our user. And we need to call this function here when we collide with the bomb, because only when the bomb collides with the ground is that, or it's when we are going to increase the score. Let's go back in Unity. I'm gonna put my background. Did I put, actually, yeah, I put the background back. So with back, I mean, I wanted to activate. I thought it was not active. I'm gonna hit the play button. Pay attention to the score at the top left corner. You see the bombs are falling and we see that the score is being incremented. We are avoiding the bombs, but the bombs cannot kill us still because we did not program that. The point here is that we are increasing the score. So this is how easy it is to add score to your game. The last step in this mini game is to go into the player script, and at the bottom, we're gonna say void on trigger enter 2D. Don't forget to type it out like this, and we're gonna say collider 2D, which I'm gonna call target. You need to type the name of this function like this. So on capital O, trigger capital T, enter capital E, 2D capital D. Otherwise, it will not work. If you type 2D with D lowercase or on trigger with O lowercase, it will not work. And here we need to type if our target tag is equal to the bomb tag. So we collided with the bomb, which means our player collided with the bomb, then we are dead. So we are simply going to say timescale is equal to 0. What does this mean? This means we're gonna stop the time in our game. Everything is gonna freeze. The bombs are not gonna move anymore. We will not be able to move our player, which means our game is like paused. And this is how you pause your game. And we will use this same technique to pause or create our pause panels. So when we click on the pause button, we will set this value to 0 and our game will be simply paused. Simple as that. Let's go back in our Unity editor, that is, and when I hit the play button, notice now, if the bomb touches me, we will not be able to move anymore, and the remaining bombs will not fall. Notice, bam, the bomb has touched me. We don't move anymore. The remaining bombs don't fall down. We don't create new bombs because our game is completely paused. The time has stopped. So the game does not run. And when will the game run? We need to set this time scale equal to 1 and then the game will run. But we're not going to do that because the point here was to create this short, cool, and entertaining game in like 20 or 30 minutes or how much it took us to create it. Anyways, this was it. This is that short game. I'm assuming that you were a complete beginner before this. You never coded, you never created a game, but now you have a complete game that you can play. This is a playable game. So when I hit the play button now, you will see the bombs start to fall down. You're gonna avoid these bombs and try to reach your high score. Don't worry about the high score not being saved because I will show you, we will cover this in the course. We will see how we can save our high score, and I died. Anyways, I reached 19 and you need to, well, click play and then play again to close or to, well, turn off and turn on the game so that you can play again. But later on in the course, we will see how we can restart the game, play it from scratch by simply clicking a button. We don't need to restart it by clicking this play button in the Unity editor. Now I have 22, 23, and I must say it's a little bit addictive. Now you can, well, I just wanted to say I'm good at it and I died. Anyways, you can increase the difficulty by adding more bombs, so on and so forth. All of that you will learn in the course. Don't worry if everything was not clear. If you follow along or followed along, you created a complete game from scratch. And as I said, you probably did not have any game development experience prior to this. So again, don't be scared. Congratulations on your first game. You saw how easy it was. You saw the concept of game development. And now we will break all of these parts one by one in this course, starting with our C# section. Then we are going to go into our first game, second, third, and fourth game, and you will learn all of this and you will be able to create everything on your own from scratch, understanding every single thing in the code and in these components and what you're doing in Unity. So don't worry at all. We will cover this again. We will explain what is a rigid body, what is a circle collider, how to create scripts again, and we will talk about these classes. What does this class mean? What is this amount of behavior? What is public? What is private? We will talk all about that. What is the update function, the start function? Everything will be covered. And I repeat, don't be scared at all. Congratulations on your first game. Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. I will see you guys in the next video.